Welcome, everybody, to the Three Doves podcast. I am your host, Jason Pulowski. This is our first episode of our first season. And today, we're welcoming Chris Horseman of Horseman's Landscape. And right out the gate, on our very first podcast, we're going to address the process of pain. Chris, I want to start off by digging in a little bit about your past. We've had many conversations. In fact, we've known each other. How long do you think we've known each other now?
I would say close to 20 years, I'm sure.
About 20 years, yeah. And we've started, actually, we met each other back when I was working for my father-in-law. We were building houses in Lehigh Acres, and you came in.
I remember that day well.
So we were sitting there, and all of a sudden you came walking in and said, hey, you provide lawn care and landscaping services. And that's how we kind of basically started our relationship. And from there, we just got to know each other and went to a few events. You invited me out to your church, too, which was pretty powerful for us just kind of getting settled in here. We were going over to another church in Fort Myers there, Riverside. And you said, well, this one's closer to home. Come on over here. Then that was awesome. That's how we got to know each other. Chris, tell me a little bit before you came here. Tell me about a little bit about your childhood. Where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up in a suburb of Baltimore City, a place called Brooklyn Park. Grew up with my parents. I had two older siblings. Went to school there and lived there until I was in my early 20s.
What did you play any sports? Were you athletic? Did you?
Tried a little bit of Pop Warner stuff, T-ball, that kind of stuff. Never really got too into it until I got into high school. I played high school football the whole time, which I loved.
What position did you play?
Tight end.
Tight end? That's what I did.
Tight end, defensive end.
Yeah, that's what I did.
A little bit of tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did nose guard, and I did a guard when I first started in junior league. That's where I started. I think it was just because I was a little overweight at the time, so they needed someone heavy in there.
Yeah, it was a good outlet for me. Yeah. I loved it. I loved football. I loved the aggressiveness about it. I was very aggressive. Started playing football in the streets, of course. But back in the day, that's how we started. Backyards and on the blacktop, and we played two-hand tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And I got so aggressive with it because there was a lot of older kids in the neighborhood, and I got tired of getting beat on so much that I got super aggressive, and to the point where certain kids wouldn't want to play with me because I hit too hard. I definitely would run through the people I would tackle. That's how I learned how to play, which would have done well for me in high school, except for I went to a high school that didn't have a very good program. Coaches were mediocre at best. So there wasn't a lot of good coaching going on. So there wasn't much opportunity for me to go further with it, which I would have loved. But, probably was not in God's plan.
Speaking of coaching, if you could nail down growing up, who was probably your best coach during high school? Like, was it that you could go back to that one moment and go, this person really spoke something into me, really impacted me?
Well, probably fortunately and unfortunately, I can't. I never really felt like I had that, really from anybody. I became very independent with my own motivation and stuff early on in life, mostly because of the household that I grew up in. Had some dysfunction and chaos, and parents and my older siblings struggling with things that caused me to be kind of the patriarch of the family. Even though I was the youngest child, I adopted the oldest child syndrome over the years. Which made me just be very self-dependent and motivated on my own. So I never really felt like I had good mentors, in a sense. Not that it means I didn't get some good stuff from different people. I felt like I was always good about picking stuff and seeing things that I would take away. even if I didn't feel like somebody was coaching me per se or was a complete good coach, I would find bits and pieces that I felt fit and worked and then try to discard the bad stuff.
Now you grew up, you said it was a little dysfunctional. I think we can all relate to that in our families, but did you have siblings? Do you have any brothers? Sisters?
Yeah, I had an older brother who was 11 years older than me and a sister who was 10 years older than me. Both of which have deceased. My brother actually died in an explosion when I was 13. He was 24 or 25, 24. Died in an explosion accident.
What happened?
He was a welder, and he was on top of a big storage oil tank. Was supposed to be doing a weld of repair, and unfortunately, there were explosive fumes that didn't get detected, or was never. They actually never did the detection prior. They're supposed to go up and do a detection before they go in there. It didn't sound like they either did it or didn't do it accurately. So when he lit his torch, the whole thing exploded, and he was blown into the oil. There was 2 other guys up there. They survived. They were blown into the excess tank and survived with minor injuries.
Wow.
So that was pretty catastrophic for our family.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 13.
13.
And the funny thing was I was home on suspension because I'd gotten into a fight in school. And back then, it didn't matter if you started or not. You got a 3-day suspension. That was kind of the norm. I didn't start the fight, but either way, I was home and I was actually watching the news and I saw where they had said something about an explosion. And at that time, I really didn't know what my brother was doing for a living. But for some reason, he popped in my brain. And I didn't know that was him, but for some reason, I thought of him when I saw that on the news. And it just turned out that it was.
Wow. What went through your mind then?
I mean, for me at that age, I never really truly believe I processed all what was going on other than, I took over that role of trying to keep the peace and make my family laugh or, I don't remember ever grieving his death or loss. There was a powerful moment when we were there at the facility waiting for them to try to find his body because they had to pump the whole tank dry so it took days. When we were there was a Red Cross truck there that was feeding all the workers and people. And I remember that just stood out to me. I remember getting grilled cheese from them. And I just thought that was the greatest thing in the world. And that Red Cross thing just stuck out to me. Like that was a comfort to me. Food had developed to be a comfort for me over the years, unhealthily at times, for sure. But yeah, it was, I would say for the family, it was catastrophic, especially for my sister, them only being a year apart. They were very close in a lot of ways. And, my sister, I don't know that after that, over the years, she just continued to decline mentally and,
Do you think that was a result of what happened to your brother?
I think, our household, my parents were married at 15. Okay. So, and they had their own struggles, and then you were married at 15. They had my brother and sister both by the time they were 17. Not having a lot of money, they came up from their own dysfunctional families and stuff that they didn't, they did the best they could with what they knew. But there was a lot of, stuff that went on in the house that could be hard for children to see and be involved in. And, they became better people as they got older, but my sister emotionally always struggled. Some people are a little more sensitive than others, especially keeping, or surviving, I should say. I think I've been very good to develop good survival skills where I don't think my sister ever did. She never really felt like she was truly surviving. She was always suffering immensely.
Where was God in all this for you? Where was he at?
Well, I'll be honest with you. At the time, I had no idea. I wasn't even, I did start going to church at a young age with my grandmother. And as a teenager, I on my own would go to some different churches, youth groups and stuff like that. I believed in a God, didn't really, I even went to private school for a while, a Christian private school, and I was, forced to memorize the Bible and all that stuff. And I knew the Bible, I knew it probably word for word better then than I do now. But it didn't have real meaning to me because I didn't have a real relationship with Christ.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I wasn't engaging in that relationship. Now, looking back.
Unpack that for me. Unpack that. What does that mean? A real relationship? I mean.
Well, a personal relationship. I mean, not just reading a book and reciting verses or just knowing what you're told, right? It's real experience, you know, where I've felt his presence, where I've seen him create miracles. I've felt him be with me in the darkest spaces of my life.
Mm. And that was a pretty dark space for you, losing your brother?
Not then, it wasn't.
Okay.
I mean, because to be honest with you, I mean, only until a few years ago did I ever probably even start to grieve his loss.
And you're how old now?
56.
And just a couple of years ago, that's when it started to hit you?
Because I just adapted and, you know, I stuffed a lot of stuff, that not intentionally. I just didn't. You know, you don't know what you don't know. So you do what you got to get through. And when everybody else around me seemed to be suffering, you know, now I know this, but I didn't then. My adaptation was, well, there's no room for me to suffer. You know, as a child, you know, I learned this through years and years of therapy, is in order for me to survive, and I felt like, well, I had to keep it all together. You know, so I never dealt with it. And nobody was there to really coach me through that. My parents didn't have those skills. They were having a hard enough time dealing with it on their own, you know, because nobody taught them.
True. So in that darkest time coming up, you were talking about, that wasn't the darkest.
No.
Let's fast forward to the dark place that you're referring to.
Well, the darkest point of my life was after my father passed. So my mom passed a couple of years before my dad. She was really sick, and we had to take her. And that was all hard. And I started getting counseling, therapy, prior to her dying. And then my dad lasted another couple of years. Again, was hard because he went through a lot of stuff, physically, you know, doctors and all that stuff. And then the day he died was probably the darkest day of my life. I remember the day he died.
All right. Process. That's okay, man.
I sat in the hallway of home hospice or hospice and felt the most lonely I've ever felt. I felt like everyone had deserted me. It was, and you know, knowing what I know now, it was everything in my life in that moment. Everything I never dealt with all came to a head in that one day. And then I spent, I would say, a good 2 years in that dark cave, begging God to take it away. You know, but to be honest with you, my sisters and my father both struggled with depression. My sister, obviously, one that I would judge. You know, she would lock herself in a room when she had little kids and wouldn't come out. And I'd be like, what is wrong with her? You know, you got responsibilities. You know what I mean? You can't just go lock yourself in a room, suck it up. You know, that was my attitude.
Yeah.
Well, God taught me a lesson.
He's good at it.
I don't judge that anymore. I have no judgment with that, because, you know, that place that I was in was, you know, I get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm not trying to jump on your story, but I remember meeting with you in that place back a while ago when you were going through that, and you were having a really, really hard time at that time. The way I viewed it was connecting with the emotions you were feeling at that time. And I think me going through what I was going through at the parallel tracks of working on lie-based emotional pain, all this kind of stuff that I was dealing with my childhood, did that help any way push you in deeper? Just knowing that, okay, I'm okay. You know, I'm in a place where other men are starting to, you know, how did that affect you?
At moments there was individuals like yourself and it wasn't many.
Yeah.
Because most people don't, when you're in that space, people don't know what to do with you. They don't know how to handle that. Like, people will say, how are you? And if you tell them the truth, they freeze and they don't know what to do.
If I said to you then, how are you doing?
Oh,
what would you have said to me?
I mean, there was times where I was brutally honest.
Yeah.
I'm not doing good.
Yeah. Well, that's not what you said, but we're being clean here.
Yeah, depending on the time and the place.
Yeah.
There were times where I told people no, and you could see the person who has been there and the person who hasn't yet, I will say. And the people who understood it didn't have to say anything for me to see it in their eyes. Because you could see the empathy, you could see their own pain, and they identified, right? So that created a connection and a they get it, right? Because to be honest with you, I felt so isolated and so alone that the biggest devil word was, you are alone. You don't have anybody. Nobody loves you. Nobody cares. Nobody understands. That's the words, right?
That's the lie.
You're a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Because my reaction to that was, because I'm a fighter, right? That's my go-to. That's how I survived my childhood. That's how I survived bullying. All that stuff was I fought back, right? I'm going to get bigger, stronger, scarier than everybody else. So they leave me alone, right? And I can control things. So when I was in that dark space, I found myself using those tools because I felt like people were attacking me, particularly my wife, that I would then puff up and get aggressive and scare her. Never physical, but verbal, just not even verbal. I mean, I didn't have to be verbal, just me puffing up. I developed a very good skill of scaring potential people, things away from me that could harm me, but I was just a walking wound, and everything hurt me.
How did your wife deal? How did she cope in that circle?
And I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for God, I don't know. Because I mean, we were probably. I mean, she didn't quit on me for sure. I don't think she knew how to deal with it. The grace of God was that He put a counselor, coach, therapist in front of me that was equipped for me. And without that, God and Him, I probably wouldn't be here today. Because one way or the other, things would have gotten a whole lot worse than what they were. Now, when I was in it, I said, God didn't prepare me for this. Now that I look back on it, oh yeah, He prepared me for it, because I wouldn't be here if He didn't.
You tie that into being strong, taking care of the bullies in your life, to the place where now you're fighting against yourself.
Well, I was always fighting against myself. I just didn't know it the whole time. It was an internal battle, because I never felt good enough. I never felt respected. I didn't feel like anybody cared. You know what I mean? There was no room for me. And I was fighting to be heard, to be seen.
Wow.
To be understood.
Wow.
And when I didn't, I would get hurt. Especially when I was so raw from, finally dealing with the grief of things that happened as a child. Whether it's the loss of my brother, the violence in my home, the violence in the streets, all that stuff came to a head. And now losing my parents, the two people that I took care of, they were gone. I got teenage kids who don't need me, that think they don't need me anymore. My wife acts like she don't need me, in my opinion, right? But it felt like all the people that I was closest to had vanished at that time. Whether I pushed them away or they had other things going on in their life, no one was there for me except for God. And I had to learn that.
Did you feel like you were fighting God in that sense too, in that dark place? Did you have that internal struggle? What would you say? I mean,
no, I don't feel like I was fighting God.
Okay.
I just wasn't submitting. I was still trying to control it all. I was trying to fix it myself, which is what I do, right? I'm a master of it. And anybody knows me, I fix everything. Even my granddaughter, she's in the back seat. She says, "Papa, you're such good at fixing things." And it's not just fixing things. I'm fixing people. That's what I developed as a skill.
Yeah. You got great advice to me a lot of times. You've come and you're trying to, and the advice is great. Like what you give me is good. And as we're just talking real, a lot of times I go, wow, Chris really mastered getting through that. But then I also heard you say, but more importantly, Jason, you need to pray through that. It doesn't matter. Like a lot of times you said, this is how I know I could fix it for you, but I've heard you say, but only Jesus can do it.
Yeah. Well, I know that.
And when did that switch start to happen? Because before it was, I want to fix you. Because I remember we've had talks before when all time, and all of a sudden it switched. Your language, your glossary, your definition switched somewhere in that. When did that happen?
I mean, I started to realize that that's not where my identity is first. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I thought for years I was selflessly doing these things when all reality it was selfish. It was all about me feeling good enough. I didn't know that. It wasn't conscious. Like I didn't go into it thinking that. But the reality is I wanted to fix everybody and make everybody happy with me so that I would feel valued and feel important or feel like I have value, right? Once you realize that that's not the case, and you never get that, you can't get that from people. That peace, that wholeness does not come from the earth, this world. It comes from God, and he already gave it to us. You know what I mean? I had to realize that. I had to really believe the scripture that Jesus loves me no matter what. He's forgiven me. He created me in his image, which, I would read that before and it really never resonated, because the verbiage that I would say internally was the opposite. I wasn't worthy of his grace. I felt bad to even ask, for things.
When did you lose your sister?
2 years ago, on my birthday of all days.
You feel like talking about that?
Yeah, that's a tough one because she died and we didn't have a relationship. Never got to say goodbye to her. No funeral, nothing. On my birthday. Like, what's that about? That's just, like, what does that mean? I find it hard to believe that there's no coincidence. There's a coincidence. It's just coincidence. For her to die of all days, the person who she started to believe was enemy number one because of her mental illness and or dementia, whatever she had, she dies on my birthday. I don't know what to think about that. But it resonates with me. Like I'm always kind of pondering it in the back of my head. Like, okay, why? What meaning does that have? And a lot of people would just say, well, it's just coincidence. But I don't know. I find it hard to believe. Whether it was on her, like somehow it could be something good. I don't know. But when you're left without resolve, we never had to have a last conversation. And even if we could have had one, it would have never been good because her brain was gone. Her viewpoint of me is I became everything wrong with her world. I was the target.
And did you try to fix it?
I did initially. When I realized I couldn't, I had to distance myself from her because it only spun. In her brain, it all got twisted. Now, I feel good that she's no longer suffering because I know she was suffering. Because I suffered when I was in that dark place. When I believed all kinds of untruths about myself and others, no different. I thought I had I think about it now and I think I was mentally ill at that point. The way I saw the world and things, it wasn't real. But I believed it in that. I really felt that or thought it. I think that's more important. It's not so much what you feel, it's what you think and then what you say to yourself.
You're a successful businessman. I look at you as a successful businessman. You have a very successsful business. I watch how you treat your employees. I've known your employees. I've never heard them once say anything negative. I mean, maybe a couple times about having to work a little longer, but and those things that are normal. But they've always seemed to love working with you. Would you contribute that to what you went through childhood into adulthood? And by the way, we're leaving out an important, crucial matter that you used to manage a restaurant. Am I correct on that?
Well, yeah, I used to manage cheesecake factories, which huge restaurants.
Mm-hmm. Did that help hone your skills in managing others and helping others?
Yeah, I mean, back then I was, younger. So, my management skills have changed. My approach, I was super aggressive, I was always an overachiever. So I was the guy that if you wanted something done, just tell me, it'll get done. And, and I didn't qualm over running over people in the process, which is what's changed in my life in the last,
We've actually had some interactions on that, you and I, where we had to get a little humble because we were both bullheaded.
Yeah, and I can still be that way.
Yeah.
It's a go-to, right? So it's a protective mechanism is what it is.
Okay.
If you're feeling like people aren't hearing you or seeing you, that's where I go, right?
Yeah.
I've just become so aware of it now that I manage it a lot better.
Okay.
Those things are still part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's just learning to understand them, where they come from, and then identifying, is this really a threat? Do I need to react this way? Is this effective or is it ineffective?
Continuing on that thought about reactive, how has God changed you through the reactiveness? How does that hone against your wife, your children, your business? I mean, you wear the cross on your business like a champ. Like anybody I've known, they're like, oh yeah, Chris Horseman, that guy's a Christian. Like they know where you stand.
Yeah, that's a risk.
It's a risk, right? It's a risk.
Because I'm not perfect.
Okay.
I don't ever claim to be. But, when you put yourself out there like that as a Christian, people, are going to be quick to, if you do anything that they deem is not perfect, they're going to jump on you. But that's not what it's about.
Okay.
I'm not putting it out there for that. I'm not putting it out there because I'm sharing my belief in Christ and my devotion to him. I'm not a perfect Christian or a perfect Christ follower by any stretch of the word. Far from it. I don't ever claim to be. But he is the light, and he is the only God. And everything I have or don't have is because of him. So I believe my business belongs to him. I'm just a steward that he put in it. And ultimately it's a mission, right? So we do landscaping, we do all these great things physically, but the bigger picture is how we go about doing it. The way we work, how we treat people, how we treat each other, right? First and foremost, and then how it goes out into our community. How do we make a difference by the work that we do? How do we make people's lives better?
How did God move in restoring your relationship with your wife during that dark hour and your children? What broke? Because I remember you talking about something breaking in you. What broke in that?
Well, I had to submit to my own raw emotions first. I mean, which is really hard, and it's still hard. I'm not.
When you say submit, sorry, do you mean take ownership of them?
Let it out.
Let it out.
Like
release.
Like cry.
Really?
Cry. Like let the pain out.
Hold on a second. Men cry?
Yeah.
You're serious?
Yeah. It's hard to do. Trust me. Every part of my being wants to suck it back in as it comes out, right? You've seen it earlier.
Oh, yeah. But there's men out there, running and running
scary.
and running. Yeah.
It's scary to be vulnerable.
It is.
Because we get hurt, right? Nobody wants to get hurt. I mean, that's just the honest truth. That's what it is. We're afraid to get hurt. Right? If you're vulnerable, you putting yourself out there, somebody could make fun of you. Somebody could use it against you. You're weak. They think you're weak. Well, it's not weakness. I know that. But I didn't know that, I spent 40 plus years protecting myself. So that's what I know best. It's a hard habit to break. And this doesn't mean you should never protect yourself. I mean, there is a time and you don't share everything with everybody. There are dangerous people out there, and those are not people you are vulnerable with. That's the time when you need to be tough. If there's a real threat, you want me there with you.
Well, yeah, that if I thought about if I was in a foxhole, what men would I put in my foxhole? And I'll be honest, definitely you'd be in my foxhole, because I know if it had to get done or you needed to protect, you would do it. Like, I know out of all the friends I have, you would be in my foxhole. And I would be honored if I was in your foxhole, because I know that you would say, okay, I know Jason is faithful enough to stand with me in this fight. I would stay there by you. But that's just how we're wired. God made us that way. You've said so many biblical principles throughout this interview here, this podcast. You mentioned them without mentioning them. What's your favorite verse? What's God given you for your verse? There's so many, right? Got to pull.
And again, I am terrible at reciting verbatim verses. Yeah. Like, I've read the Bible many times and I know it in a way that is probably different for me than others.
But is there one specific verse that you can paraphrase that you would say?
So the biggest one is that I need to remind myself of on a regular basis, and this is where it comes to managing my thoughts and emotions. And that is to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. So that is something that I actually have on the back of my business card, and it's really a reminder for me, but I think it's important for everybody. When we do that, it's not that we're just listening to each other. It's that we listen to God first, right? So if I'm being quick to listen to him about what he says about me, right? Yeah. So this is a book, right? Well, men wrote this. Okay. It was inspired by God.
Yeah.
But this is just a book.
Yeah.
God is the Bible.
That's correct.
Jesus is the Word, right?
Yes.
So I have to know that personally. And through my experiences, good and bad, painful and not, joyful, I've had those experiences. And I have felt him through that. I felt him tell me that you are my child.
Wow. Boy, I feel that. Whew. Yeah.
And having children have taught me that.
Yeah, let that soak.
My love for my children has taught me that, man, how big must God's love be? As much as I love my children,
yeah,
which is at the core of my being, right? And my wife, even more, to be honest with you. Like, I can't just even fathom how much God's love must be for me. Now, whether I accept it on a daily basis or minute to minute is debatable, because some days I do and some days I don't. That's just the truth. I'm not free of that struggle. I'll go back to doing it on my own on a regular basis, but I have to, I've created rituals in my life, like, quiet time in the morning with God, trying to make sure I'm trying to pray before I go to sleep. And first thing in the morning, before I even get out of bed, I start talking to God. That was the rituals that I started that got me out of the dark place. And it started with me begging him every morning to take away the pain, even though he didn't right away. Because I hadn't learned enough yet. I needed to figure it out.
So you see God using the pain to teach you.
Yep. It's important, right? Every kid's got to fall and skiff his knee to realize that don't run on if you run, you're going to fall, right?
Yeah.
If you got to touch the burner to know what really hot is. You can't learn that. Nobody can give that to you.
What do you think about parents nowadays trying to shield their kids?
It's not healthy because, better they skin their knee while you're standing there. You let them do it. Don't put a bubble around them. They got to feel some pain.
Now, obviously, you're not saying let them go run across the street.
No.
I don't want to. Yeah, let's clarify. There's some boundaries.
Yeah, there's real danger, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, I always say that at work, too. When I see somebody that's doing something that could get them killed or maimed, I'm going to yell.
How about the time when you lost a mower in the water.
Oh, that was dangerous. The kid could have drowned, right? So we made some bad decisions.
Yeah.
You know, we made bad decisions by letting him on it without any kind of training. That was a horrible decision. You know, luckily, God protected him and us from that. I've seen it, you know, myself included. I've been in horrible accidents where I shouldn't have walked away. You know, those are the earliest things I can explain where God was with me and must have had a purpose for me, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. You know, even this dark space, I was sabotaging all that. My aggression was extreme. I could have destroyed my marriage. You know, I could have, I mean, to be honest with you, at some points I was even, you know, I not think I would have ever done it, but, you know, thought about even getting rid of myself, you know. And if Kim had left me, I might have, because that would have been like that could have been the straw that broke my back, you know, losing her and all that, because she was the last person I wanted to lose. Even though she felt like, you know, I just wanted her to see me and feel like she loved me. So I would be reactive to try to make her feel what I was feeling, which was obviously not helpful, you know. But neither one of us, you know, she didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't either.
I think that would be a really interesting dynamic in a conversation here, is you and Kim sharing about marriage and struggle. There's a lot of folks who are going through that, and they're hitting their late 40s, early 50s.
No,
the kids.
It's a tough era by itself.
Yeah.
So just getting into empty nester syndrome is one thing. Having a 6-year-old daughter for the first time, you know, those are all things that are hard for everybody. But then I had sick parents, dying parents, all the stuff that I hadn't dealt with my whole life, all that come together at the same time, which was just a lot. And not to saying that it couldn't have been worse. It absolutely could have. If I had to go through divorce, that would have been catastrophic to me. You know, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, only, you know, by the grace of God, he kept me out of that. You know, because there was many a times I'm like, I'm leaving. I was just saying that to get a reaction. I didn't really want to leave.
Yeah.
I just wanted to feel like she loved me.
So if a lady is listening right now who's married or single, what are you're kind of giving up some information here.
Well, we say stuff to get a reaction because we feel like we're not being heard, and women do it too. Sometimes, I mean, some people are more passive aggressive. Other people I'm aggressive. I'm not passive aggressive. I say what I think and what I'm feeling and mean, sometimes to a fault, right? My wife's a little more passive aggressive. She either says nothing or says something kind of sly around, you know, that you can't necessarily understand what she really, you know what I mean? I'm in tune enough with her now that I kind of know, but you know, what I realize is, and it's not always conscious, is we just want people to understand how we feel. And when we don't feel understood, we'll do things to make them feel it. And that means attack them, because we're feeling pain. That's what they always say, hurt people. Well, I realize now that we do it subconsciously. We want them to feel the pain we're feeling so they'll understand.
Wow.
And when I had to realize that I was even doing that, that was hard for me. When I had to confront and realize that I had become the bully that I despised the most, like that was the thing. Because all the bullying that I went through as a child and a young man I despised it. But in order to protect myself, I became a bully, you know, at times. And that was really hard for me to admit.
So God had to work with a lot of stuff, didn't he? He's got, and he's still, I mean, I know he's not finished. I know we know that, but if I was in your shoes and you were talking to yourself, what piece of advice would you give yourself? I guess I'd say, if you were talking to yourself and you were sitting here, what piece of advice would you give to yourself based on everything you've gone through up to now, what God has said to you, what God has spoken over you? What would you say?
Well, I mean, the big to, in my opinion, first and foremost, is a personal relationship with God. And how you come about that is an individual experience, right? Nobody's is the same, but I would search for it, right? I would challenge, if you haven't, to seek it, go out after it, as best as you can. One, reading the Bible is a start, but opening yourself up to experiences that might give you more insight into just that book and actually the real God speaking to you through you. Got to be open to it, because it's real easy to just say, mumbo, it's hocus pocus, da 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 da. Well, you find what you look for.
So it starts at the cross.
Yeah. But then God presents things to you in your life, and you can either acknowledge them for what they need to be or not, right? So somebody sends you a person in your life to speak to you, and you just kind of blow them off, and it may be something you need to hear. But many of us aren't open to hearing things that people got to say to us. We're doing destructive things, and we need people to help point that out in a loving way. You know what I mean? Say, hey, I wish people would have told me earlier, the closest people to me, about my aggressive behavior and how I was intimidating people, because I didn't even know I was doing it. It was so second nature reaction that I didn't even realize what I was doing. It would have been nice if some of my closer friends had pointed it out to me. I think I would have been open to hearing it. I think so. Because when I did, I was. Who knows? Your journey is your journey. You got to go through some stuff, unfortunately.
I remember a time when you were in your truck and I pointed out that you're kind of like high-strung type A, and you kind of snapped at me.
I might have. I don't know. I'm not saying that.
Like, oh, really, Jason?
Well, I will say this. So even I would say 99.9% of the time, even if that was to happen.
We did. We
know
did.
what I'm saying? Even if that was to happen, I would still, it would resonate with me, and I would run it through the computer over and over again and try to figure out. That's one thing about me, because I'm a fixer. So I want to fix me too. You know what I mean? So that's a plus and a minus, because.
So you're learning now to let God fix you?
I mean, ultimately I have to just be. I have to learn to be better at just being.
Wow.
That has been without working on it.
Wow.
So everything for me becomes another job, right? Because I'm a worker, right? So I work at everything. Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, people will say, oh, you need to go take this other class. No. I realize I don't need to do that, because I need to do less of that for me. Some people do need to do that. There's opposites, right? Another good friend who he used to go fishing all the time instead of going to work. And I'd be like, I'm the one that needs to go fishing. Your buddy needs to go to work, right? Because he went to fishing too much and didn't go to work enough. I went to work too much and never fished.
There's a balance.
Right? Yeah. So, your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness.
And that could be medicating too, as well. Going fishing, staying out of the light.
And I absolutely thrive in the outdoors and with physical activity. That is where I am closest with myself and with God.
We have that in common. We both love to go out to the mountain. We love to hike. We love the trails. We love the water. We love the outdoor elements. It's good.
The second thing, though, so God first, right?
God
so
first.
You got to figure out you got to find that relationship
with
God. Then, for me, was a professional who could coach me, a coach. So we talked earlier about a coach.
Okay.
The only and the most powerful coach I've ever had in my life is my current counselor, who I've been seeing for 15 years.
Awesome.
And if it wasn't for him and his ability to speak to me in a way that I can hear it, things would not be where they're at today. And I believe God put him in my life, for sure. I mean, he was there through all of that.
So you need a relationship with Jesus, with God. You need a person around. If you're a man, you need a man, a coach.
Right? So, everybody's like mental health. He's a coach. I mean, that's what he is.
He's a coach.
And to be honest with you, the guy coaches professional athletes. He's amazing. I mean, these people aren't easy to find. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Now, you'll have I have a great circle of friends, and they give me bits and pieces for sure.
That's probably number 3, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Your close circle of good counsel is what I call it. Counsel. You know what I mean?
I like the man who said, "He who is taught is like his teacher," right? And so you've got a relationship with Jesus, with God, because of Christ's death on the cross. You've got the ability to come to him, receive forgiveness, and start a relationship with him. Second of all, get a good coach, get a counselor, get with somebody.
Who's doesn't have they don't have skin in the game, really. So, me and you, we're friends, right? Yeah. So there's a certain level of things that we will and won't say sometimes because
I'm still trying to figure out when that will be for you because you say it.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right?
So say it.
No, I am.
You do, bro. I love it.
If you don't want to hear it, don't come to me because I'm going to tell you the brutal truth.
It's the truth. That's what he says to me. Yeah.
And I have gotten a little softer with it.
Right.
I used to be,
oh man, brutal with me. But I love it. I love you for it. Okay, that's the difference because I want.
No, I know you do.
Want, and I see that. I want to grow.
There are people who I stopped,
right,
because they don't listen. They just don't listen either.
Oh,
I'm like, I'm wasting my breath.
Right,
and they just get agitated because they don't really want to hear it.
No,
they don't want to hear the truth. They're not ready for it. And it's not obviously I'm not the right person to give it to them either. So that's the key factor. Every truth is not mine to tell. I had to learn that the hard way. Used to think I was convicted to tell everybody the truth.
Yeah.
Well, no, every truth is not for me to tell.
That's good.
Because I'm not necessarily the right person or the right delivery for everybody.
So we got a relationship with God. We got a good counsel. We got good, solid Christian friends who you can trust with your stuff. What would be the last thing you would say on that? Is there a fourth thing?
I mean, you got to love yourself. Okay. I mean, that's just, and I didn't know that, right? So when I read that verse, love thy neighbor as thyself, I missed the whole thyself part. Because it says love thy neighbor as thyself. So that means you know how to love yourself first. I never did that. I didn't know what that meant. I mean, to be honest with you, I still struggle with it. I have to be kind to me. All the horrible things that I would say to myself in my head about me, I would never say to anybody else. Never. I mean, how messed up is that? And then when you put it in perspective is, I'm a child of God. I was created by God in his image. So now I'm saying to God, well, you made a piece of shit. Pardon my French. But that's how I would speak to myself. Right? If I messed up, that's how I talk to myself.
Wow.
That's not good. And trust me, that's what dug the hole I got into. That kind of self-talk. But I had to relearn it, and now I fight those words. Like if I ever feel devil, man, I just go right to those verses. I am a child of God. God created me. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength.
What's your favorite song?
Favorite song? I don't know. I like music.
I know you do.
I can't really say that I have a favorite song. There is one that Jelly Roll and what's his name's doing, the country singer with the beard. It's called God of My Second Chance.
Yeah.
And he there's another song where he sings about how, he's trying to be the man he wants to be, right? Well, I mean, I feel like I'm always there. I want to be here, the man that I believe that I need to be. And I'm always somewhere below that. I mean, in my opinion, I'm still self-critical, better than I've ever been, much kinder to myself than I've ever been. But, we're all work in progress. I don't think we fully are going to get it. I don't believe I'm going to fully get it until I'm gone in heaven. Then it'll, and I just think that's part of the journey now. So I have to accept that, right? Like I had to accept being in that dark cave for so long. That was part of it. Like I just needed to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't need to live there, but I needed to be there for a while and visit.
And it wasn't through the fire. It wasn't through the strong wind. It was through the whisper that he spoke.
Yeah. Because I was yelling.
Yeah.
That's for sure. You couldn't hear it through the noise in my head. That was the problem. Because you can't quiet the noise in your head. it's hard to hear anything or see anything for that matter.
Following up with the noise in your head and the spinning of everything and concluding our podcast today, you've recently discovered something in the midst of all this, not just going through this spiritual battle, internal battle, but as we get older, our bodies change, hormones change, and men don't like to talk about this. We don't.
No,
we don't want to acknowledge this because we're men.
Well, again, it's about vulnerability, right?
It's about vulnerability.
We don't want to admit that we could possibly have some weakness or chink in our armor.
Something just happened.
Yeah.
And you went from feeling, again, you were down, kind of feeling depressed recently. You felt like life sucked out of you.
Yeah. I mean, I've always struggled with, I felt like anxiety.
Yeah.
And off and on over the years, obviously during that darkest time, I was in a really bad depression. But I've experienced lighter ends of that depression before that and even after that to some level. Obviously, now being in a better state of my relationship with Christ and about myself, I'm able to be in those spaces and not make them worse. Not be mean to myself when I'm suffering.
Yeah.
Right.
That's growth.
Yeah, that's important. Don't be mean. Don't be mean to yourself when you're suffering. That's growth. That's just horrible because you wouldn't do that to anybody.
Right.
Right.
Why would you do it to yourself?
Yeah. If you were suffering, I wouldn't start yelling at you and go, suck it up. What are you being a crybaby for? Right. I wouldn't do that to you.
I know.
Right. I'd be like, man, bro, what's up? You're fine. You're good. You're a child of God. I'd build you up. Right. Jason's a good boy. Right. That's funny. You laugh at that, but that was always the phrase that I wanted to hear.
Jason's
that I'm a good boy.
I'm not loud because it does resonate with me because I get it because it's something that's entwined in us from, I don't know if it's just the way God developed our parental.
You want your father.
Yes.
Right. We're seeking our father's approval. Yeah. It's ultimately our father, our heavenly father.
Yes.
But our earthly father is our direct earthly representation of him.
That's right.
But our earthly father is flawed.
That's right.
Right. Just as we are.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a flawed father.
We say we're not perfect.
That's why parents. I say to you, as much love and care I have for my children, God's has got to be, I can't even fathom.
We can't fathom it.
Right?
It's so deep.
But you got to get there, right? You got to get to where you kind of get that, right? And you get it through these experiences. So
what happened recently with that? Because I know we could run on a tangent on that one.
Just a quick background on me as far as health and fitness goes.
Yeah.
So
you're big into it. You're big. By the way,
whole life,
folks, if you don't know this, Chris is a big health and fitness guy. You really always have been. Yeah. So
doesn't mean I've done everything right because, again, I have had my struggles.
Yeah.
But I've always been a big researcher. I watched my mom have health issues her whole life. Prescription medicines destroyed her, killed her eventually. So it became a big thing for me. I had to educate myself a lot about the medical industry and all that stuff because I was a primary caregiver, that kind of stuff. Even as a young man, I had to learn a lot. My dad struggled with helping with that because it was just too much for him. It was too close. He would get very emotional and it was hard for him. So I became that guy too with that. So again, another fixer, right?
Right.
So even up to them dying, I was trying to fix it the whole time.
Right.
It wore the heck out of me. It was things I couldn't fix, at that stage, right? But my whole life, I was more involved with fitness and health. And I also realized that it's not just spiritual. It's not just mental. It's not just physical. It's mind, body, and spirit, right? We're supposed to take care of all three of those things to be complete. A lot of us don't. Today's society is, it creates works and jobs that create us to sit sedentary too much. Men especially are designed to be physical beings. And when we're not, it affects us physically, mentally, and spiritually. So, and I've studied a lot of stuff about it. I've always been in and out of different gyms, from regular weight training to CrossFit to, different things. I have a gym in my own home now.
Yep.
Dietary and all that stuff. I've studied, I took nutrition classes in college. Obviously all that stuff, our education, all that stuff has developed over the years a lot. But I've always kind of stayed up on it. And, I've struggled with low T since I think I was probably in my 40s to some level. Never necessarily thought I had symptoms. So what I've always learned is the symptoms are what really matter. It's not the number. Because you can have a high testosterone level and have symptoms because your body's not using it for whatever reason, processing it and making it readily available for your, use. The last couple of years, I started to develop symptoms, what seemed to be mild, but, knowing me personally, because I'm a high A achiever, aggressive, physical, but I've noticed some changes.
You were like now crying at Hallmark commercials.
Yeah, that was it. That was definitely it.
And you have kitty cat posters now.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. I mean, maybe, So I've been doing more and more research about it, but also knowing that I have a lot of phobias about medications and stuff because of my childhood and watching what things did. So I'm very trying never to take any kind of medicine, which I haven't. And at one point, when I was younger, I wouldn't even take a Tylenol. That's how extreme I was.
Wow. Yeah.
But so that's just it's become part of my DNA in a sense, the way I think. So, but I did meet a new local doctor who has broken away from the corporate health, which I am totally not happy with. And I think most people are realizing that that's just a broken system. They're not really about making people healthier. They're just about giving you medications and treating symptoms. They're not, that because I know you've seen nutritionalists. I've seen nutritionalists, they're not taught nutrition, not taught physical fitness. We've gotten away with a lot of it in schools. So long story short, I went and seen this new doctor who I'd met and talked to a lot and felt comfortable with, felt like her viewpoint from health and all that stuff. Didn't feel like she was going to be quick to want to try to put me on just medication, wanted to really optimize my health. Got some blood work done. When I went to get blood work, my blood pressure was high, which it hadn't been, but it was pretty high, which that kind of freaked me out. Again, just my phobia of I don't want to go on blood pressure medicine because I know the side effects. See a lot of guys on them. Didn't really want to do testosterone, was afraid of that, but I'd done a lot of research and realized there could be benefits. We went back and looked at my blood work. There were some minor markers that were off. But with the symptoms and all, and the blood pressure, which was my biggest concern, was that she said that if I was to take testosterone, it could bring my blood pressure back down. And I'd much rather do that than take blood pressure medicine based on my education with it. So I decided to do it. So I got pellet injections on Monday. She gave me a vial B12, which I also took a B12 shot on Tuesday. Wednesday afternoon rolled around, and I didn't feel great Wednesday morning. But as the afternoon, when I started to feel better, I caught myself working around the house by myself, and all of a sudden, something changed. And I could feel it. And the word that came to mind was, I felt brighter, and everything felt brighter to me. I felt my face smiling for no reason.
Wow.
I could feel my cheeks raising because I felt this lightness come about me. And I started talking about it to people, and I would start giggling talking about it. I was just I felt this happiness that I haven't felt. I just came to, I don't smile as much anymore. I would joke and say, oh, life's beat me up a little bit, so I can't smile anymore. I don't laugh as much. But since then, things have every day, I just feel my anxiety has quieted. My cravings for food and alcohol feels like it's gone.
Wow.
I think the anxiety would create my cravings.
Is this what you prayed for?
I've prayed for a lot of stuff to be taken away from me for years.
Was this the answer?
It for sure feels like it. I mean, I'm trying not to look a gift horse in the mouth because it feels so amazing to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is is it for everybody? Yeah. I did a lot of research, Jason.
I understand.
I mean, an excessive amount.
I know you do.
And it was very stressful for me to make the decision. When I made it, after I made it, I felt better.
Wow.
I had no idea what I would feel like 2 days later and the difference that it made me feel. And I'm just walking around and I feel great. I just mentally. Like I used to say, oh, I got all this noise in my head that I can never quiet, and I'm just dealing with it. I just deal with it. Like I process it in a healthy way. I've learned to do that, but it's like it's gone.
God healed you.
I'm not, it's hard for me to fully accept because it's almost unbelievable to me. Like I would have never thought. But yeah, I mean, God blessed me with this one way or another.